T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
3.3 million watched the first XFL game. That's as many as listen to this podcast. Isn't that coincidental?
Right.
So what do you think of the XFL? That's our question. Plus, college basketball in full swing. Seeds are starting to form and grow. And Bobby Knight has a homecoming. Gentlemen, let's start with the XFL. Hey, should we charter a fan club for the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are 1-0?
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm a fan of the Roughnecks myself. Now, I watched the Roughneck game. It was a good one. They had like almost 20,000 people in those seats.
I don't know how many of those were papered, but
Pay-per-view?
no, like they were given they were given tickets, or
Well, I think they probably were, and it would have been smart if all of those teams had just given out tickets just to fill the stadiums.
To be fair, I think probably most of them tried to do that, and some people were like, "Nah, it's okay."
Yeah. Well, my thought about the XFL, first impressions are professionally done broadcast, entertaining. For me, it was a little too soon after Super Bowl.
Wanted to take a week off or something?
Yeah. But by and large, the game I just saw the one game, was very entertaining. I saw some highlights and looked like the New York Guardians were really, on point.
Yeah, it was a lot of it had to do with Tampa. I mean, I liked him at Georgia, Aaron Murray. Aaron Murray's just, I mean, that's your quarterback. And look, I know like there's not like a lot of great quality quarterbacks.
So like the
in
Tampa
XFL.
Bay Vipers you do? That's who you like?
No. I'm saying he's talking about how the Guardians really
Guardians.
dominated. I'm saying Aaron Murray, I think, helped the Guardians look as good as they were. Was my
Yeah,
point.
I don't think they dominated, but they played hard enough to get the breaks that they needed.
Yeah, they had a good amount of yardage Tampa did, but it's because they turned the ball over 3 times, 2 interceptions by Aaron Murray, 1 fumble loss, and actually it was recovered for a TD by the New York Guardians. They had some problems. Like also just their coaching staff, Mark Trestman. I mean, he failed stint with Chicago. He had success in the CFL, but it looks like it's another league. I know this is early on. I don't know what's one game, but like I don't know how much success he's gonna have. Also, just bizarrely, Jerry Glanville is his defensive coordinator.
Isn't that crazy?
I was like, man, I didn't know that guy was still kicking.
Alive?
Yeah. So,
Well, and you were saying Hal Mummy's an offensive coordinator somewhere.
He is.
Hal Mummy is Dallas's
Dallas Renegade.
under Bob Stoops.
And they were the only team to get
Going for the air raid again.
beaten at home.
The weirdest thing about Hal Mummy was, one, everyone had call sheets. He did not have a call sheet. He was just, I guess, calling off the top of his dome, which either A, he's a savant, or their offense is so simple. It's like Tecmo Super Bowl. He has 4 offensive plays. It's just like, let's go with this one again. Just reverse it. The other thing that's interesting about Hal Mummy was he had like a huge like towel. Like it wasn't like a small towel. It was like a beach towel. It looked like a guy who just got back from the sands. It was like walking into his condo. I was like, what is going on with him?
Well, he probably had,
So Cardell Jones was greeted with chance of MVP already. I love that.
Well, and I saw one in the highlights, one razzle-dazzle where it was behind the line.
Flicker.
Toom, 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 and back to quarterback, and it I don't know if it scored.
Yeah, it was a double reverse, yeah. I don't know if it scored, but it definitely set up a score to touchdown.
And P.J. Walker was impressive with the Roughnecks, 23 of 39 for 272 yards. He's your MVP already.
Well, I was just going to say the couple of highlights with the passes I saw and the game itself, he nailed some passes, but he had a couple of receivers that went up there. These guys are playing for the NFL. They're playing for next year.
It's a debut. It's a tryout.
It's an audition because I saw this one guy. He reminded me of those small receivers that they've had at New England. He was in the middle of them and just went up and got it and pulled it in. And so, but Walker was impressive.
Yeah, he was definitely, I guess, the star. The other star of our St. Louis Battlehawks, Timu, their quarterback, he threw for 209, had a passing touchdown, ran for 77 rushing yards. So, and also, just to kind of not get off note, but I will say they had the best. I think they had the best commentary. Now, to be fair, I did not see the Roughnecks, which was Kurt Menefee and Joe Klatt, which is a very good one. I saw at least all the other 3 games, at least pieces of. But with like Joey Galloway and particularly, I don't think neither of you are big fans of Pat McAfee. Essentially acted as like the third guy in the booth, even though he's not in the booth. He added a lot to the game. So
was he on the sidelines?
He was on the sidelines, but he essentially chirped in at all times. So I think he's the front runner. Greg Olson was good.
Yeah.
The Steve Lee, and again, it's nothing against Steve Lee. I like Steve Lee. Greg McElroy, man. Greg McElroy is just not a fan.
How about some of these gimmicks like this?
Is under further review.
Is a completed catch
The
and a
booth.
fumble.
Okay.
Is that your ruling? Is that the ruling on the field?
The ruling on the field is a completed catch, fumbled by the receivers. New York picked up the fumble, recovered in advance. First down, New York.
Okay. We have a good view here. When he landed on the ground, he only had 1 foot down. The ball was jarred loose, so it's going to be an incomplete pass. We're going to change it to an incomplete pass. Second 15.
All right.
Okay.
I will make the announcement. After further review, the receiver did not complete the process of a catch. Therefore, it is an incomplete pass.
So there you go. XFL transparency, as they call it. In-booth referee. I loved it.
Interesting.
I think the best, thing that's unique to it is obviously the extra point, where you can get 1 point from 2 yards out, you can get 2 points from 5 yards out, you can get 3 points from 10 yards out. I think that's the best one. I think my second favorite one, and I don't know, it will definitely backfire more in the future, but it's still like the most, fascinating thing is after successful drives or unsuccessful drives, like just how people will react. Because again, in the DC game, or was it? I'm trying to think if it was the DC game. Yeah, I believe in the DC game there was a penalty, and the Diana Racina, she talked to center afterwards, and he very casually drops the F-bomb
Right there.
which they missed.
Yep.
And it's just like. And also, she talked to Ty Rasa, the kicker, after he made a miss. And, obviously, since it's a new league, everyone's kind of cool. But, like, when it gets tight, when jobs are on the line, like, people are probably going to snap on these sideline reports. So,
It's going to be fun, isn't it?
It's going to be very fascinating.
I love the uniforms, the colors of everything. And get this, the championship game will be played on a home field. Whoever wins it out. So it's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
NFL news. Phillip Rivers cuts ties with the LA Chargers. Chargers cut ties with him. What do you guys think? Where's he going?
Miami.
No, I don't think he'll go Miami just because I think they're drafting a quarterback, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has a lot of experience with Chan Gailey, who they just hired as an OC. He worked with them in Buffalo and New York, so like he's just going to be a holdover. Probably if they get Tua, they'll probably just redshirt him for a year. That's why I don't think he'll go to Miami. The most fascinating thing to come out of it to me was afterwards they talked about how how the Buccaneers have interest in him. But to me, the tidbit that was fascinating is like they said they also have interest in Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Teddy Bridgewater. So essentially, when I'm reading it, the most fascinating thing out of it is like
Bye-bye, James.
yeah, his bye Jameis. So. Like,
Well, it's about time. I mean,
Yeah.
he's scored more touchdowns for the other teams with the pick sixes than he's made. I mean, it's nasty.
yeah.
He did.
But before I digress into that, it's it's the end of a weird
16
era.
years.
A weird era where like he has a lot of the records that San Diego Chargers ever have, but like and he was good for pretty much his whole career, but like, just they were very just kind of in the middle of the road. He had some successful years. For the most part, they went 8-8 a lot. I don't know if it was really his fault. I'm not saying he didn't contribute to that, but
Well, I think the peak was when LaDainian was there.
yeah, early in his career.
Yeah.
So who will quarterback the Chargers? There's your question.
Mariota.
Marcus Mariota. One vote, Marcus. Next.
At least for this year, I think their backup was Tyrod. I think Tyrod will be
Tyrod Taylor, the old Bills QB.
Yeah, I think because Anthony Lynn, he coached with them in Buffalo, so I think he'll start it. If they can draft Herbert, I think they'll draft Herbert, and eventually he'll start maybe next year. I don't know. But if they don't get him, I mean, they might draft Jordan Love. I think they're drafting a quarterback. I don't think there's any reason to get any of these. If they could get Tom Brady, is great. Again, like we've kind of talked about, I don't think Tom Brady should go there.
No TB12 there, really?
I think he should stay with New England. I think emphatically that should be the route. Raiders kind of makes sense. More for the Raiders. It doesn't still make sense.
He's 38, Rivers.
I think Rivers, there's two places. They are two places. Tampa, I think legitimately because Winston's gone. I mean, there's no reason they should even think about him again. The one that's more fascinating is the Colts, just because, again, he has a background with Frank Wright. Frank Wright was in San Diego for a while. And I'm blanking on the one of the other head coaches on the offensive side. He also had experience with Philip Rivers in San Diego, so it would be a very easy, seamless transition. And they put up again kind of like Winston. They threw up a warning sign on Jacoby Brissett that they're evaluating quarterback. They did not really give a vote of confidence to Jacoby Brissett at the end of the year, so they're definitely looking to make a change, I think so.
Okay, let's switch it around here. This was the sound in Bloomington, Indiana. Bobby Knight makes his return to Assembly Hall. Big deal, not a big deal, 20 years?
I suppose it's a big deal. I don't think any of those kids in that, they don't know who Bobby is. They may have seen some highlights of the chair throwing and all of that.
Well, if they grew up in the state of Indiana, they know who Bobby Knight is.
If you grew up a Hoosier?
Yeah, you know, because of their 5 championship banners, he accounts for 3 of them. So, like, again, not directly, but at least through their parents or their grandparents, they know who Bobby Knight is.
He looked pretty feeble.
Well, I mean, it sounds like
79.
He allegedly is suffering from dementia to some extent.
Surprise.
It was brought about by Fred Glass, who's on the way out, their AD. He extended to Bobby Knight very early on. Like they used to be, to get in the Hall of Fame at IU, you had to attend to get in if you're still alive. They waived that. They put him in 09 in the Hall of Fame. He extended to him like the doors are always open to him in 09.
Olive Branch.
But like I understand, like he was bitter, and I understand on some level, even though obviously a lot of it was due to his own actions.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole dynamic we'll get into with Miles Brand. Like Miles Brand essentially heave-hoed him and was able to use that to elevate himself.
But he's dead. He's dead now.
Yeah, but he used that firing of Bobby Knight to essentially elevate himself to the NCAA, which is, if we're going to talk about the ills that have been done by things, like the organization NCAA is worse than what Bobby Knight probably did.
Plus the kid he choked, and I don't remember his name, but he's passed away.
Yeah, Neil Reed.
So.
Essentially, his son Pat Knight talked to. There was a good piece by Scott Agnes in the Athletic where he talked about. It was actually set up by Randy Whitman because they were honoring the '81 championship team.
Right.
And Randy Whitman actually had played a good round of golf, drank a few beers, and then he's like, you know what, I'm going to call Bobby Knight, because he called him one time again earlier between that period where he called Bobby Knight and he got chewed out about it, and he called him. He's like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to just call him. And he called him. He's like, hey, they're going to honor him. He's like, well, who's going to be there? And Randy Whitman kind of